martial art has a very, very deep meaning as far as my life is concerned, because as an actor, as a martial artist, as a human being, all these I have learned from martial art. Martial art include all the combative arts like karate, aikido, judo, Chinese kung fu or Chinese boxing, whatever you call it, all those. It's a combative form of fighting. I mean, it's not, some of them became sport, but some of them are still not. I mean, they use, for instance, kicking to the groin, jabbing fingers at the eyes and things like that. To me, at least the way that when I teach it, all type of knowledge ultimately means self-knowledge. So therefore, they're coming in to, and ask me to teach them not so much of how to defend themselves or how to do somebody in. Rather, they want to learn to express themselves through some movement, be it anger, be it determination, or whatsoever. So in other words, what I'm saying, therefore, is that he is paying me to show him in combative form the art of expressing the human body.
Kick me. Kick me.
You're very much in control of the movement. By too much control, therefore, you're kind of concerned about the execution.
What was that? An exhibition? We need emotional content. Try again. I said emotional content, not anger. Now try again, with me.
Now, right now, I'm telling you to, really just forget about it, just do it. Now, boom, you see, right on the target. When you just ease the burden of your mind, you just do it.
That's it. That is, to me, the most important thing, and that is, how can I, in the process of learning how to use my body, to understand myself?
You see, actually, I do not teach, karate, because I do not believe in styles anymore. I mean, I do not believe that there is such thing as like Chinese way of fighting or the Japanese way of fighting or whatever way of fighting, because unless human beings have 3 arms and 4 legs, we will have a different form of fighting.
Unless we have other group of beings on Earth that are structurally different from us, then there might be a different style of fighting. Now, why is that? Because we have 2 hands and 2 legs now. The important thing is, how can we use it to the maximum? In terms of path, well, straight line, curved line, round lines, they might be slow, but depending on the circumstances, sometimes that might not be slow. And in terms of legs, you can kick up straight, same thing, right? And after all that, then you ask yourself, how can you honestly express yourself at that moment?
Really, to me, ultimately, martial art means honestly expressing yourself. Now, it is very difficult to do, okay? I mean, it is easy for me to put on a show and be cocky and be flooded with a cocky feeling and then feel like pretty cool and all that. Or I can make all kinds of phony things, you see what I mean? Blinded by it. Or I can show you some really fancy movement. But to express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, and to express myself honestly, now that, my friend, is very hard to do. And you have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there. When you want
to. All right. Thanks for tuning in to another Sigma Jones session, courtesy of YouTube. First and foremost, just want to give a shout out to my subscribers. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for tuning in. Truly appreciate the love and support. Well, I have returned from my much needed trip to Seattle and Vancouver. It was definitely a good trip just to get away for a bit, but it was also a trip that I looked forward to spend on my birthday month this month. And whether if it's just traveling to another state or traveling to the opposite end of the country, just getting away for a bit is definitely good for the mind, body, and soul. So even brothers, if you're not traveling internationally, traveling domestically still helps tremendously, both for your health and especially for your mind. But in this particular trip, I definitely looked forward to going to Seattle. And if you haven't already seen the thumbnail or even the few minutes of the beginning of this video, you'll definitely be in for a treat. But before I do that, let me just tell you what's going to be coming down the pipe. So my review on Seattle and Vancouver, I'll definitely have that posted on my main channel over on Free Speech Avenger. So if you definitely want to check out that particular video and why I give my SYSBM stamp of approval for those two cities, the link to my main channel is in the description box, so you could definitely go and check that out. The video most likely will not be posted till either later this weekend, if not next week for sure. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So you should have seen the opening clips, hearing a few words from the legendary Bruce Lee. He is definitely a legend when it comes down to martial arts. Some have claimed to say that his particular style of fighting is what have brought forth the UFC and other mixed martial arts fighting type of criterias and all. But one thing people kind of don't really understand about Bruce Lee is how much of a deep philosopher he truly was. And the importance of the opening clip that I had put up on this video, he talks about the whole concept of self-expression, being able to be true to yourself and being able to fully understand yourself, i.e. having self-mastery and self-discipline. And Bruce Lee talks about how he would have some students come to his martial arts training because they want to learn the right techniques or the right kind of fighting style to beat their opponent. And he would let them know that his style is not about having the right moves or having the right techniques. It's really about expressing your true potential. And for me, that really is what opened my eyes when it comes down to SYSBM. Because for some individuals, you could even say detractors, they would tell you that SYSBM is all about getting with non-black women. And even though, yes, that's part of the philosophy of SYSBM, it is not the main foundation of SYSBM. And so when I traveled to Seattle, the first thing I wanted to do is go to Bruce Lee's gravesite. And it's actually a pretty peaceful gravesite. He's buried out near Lakeview Cemetery, right next to his son. And the picture that you're seeing right now is actually a picture I took at his gravesite. And so what definitely inspired me to go to Seattle is to really understand his lifestyle and understand his philosophy in probably his home away from home. He actually talks very highly about Seattle. And despite, the weather being somewhat gloomy, as some would say, it was actually a very nice weather going into Seattle. Me personally, I think it was very nice. But with Bruce Lee, one thing that I admire about him is the fact that he wasn't one that truly felt that he is, so to speak, the best of the best. But he definitely knew within himself that he was destined for greatness in his own way. And his philosophy, especially when he talks about be formless like water, what he's really trying to get at is in order for you to really unlock your potential, to really understand your fate. Actually, fate is not a good word. To really understand your purpose, you got to be able to understand you as the person. And especially when it comes down to SYSBM, the philosophy is being able to understand you as a black man. You see, we live in a society where as a black man, you kind of have to deal with detractors from all kinds of fronts. You have detractors outside of camp, and you have detractors within your camp. And if you don't have the mental fortitude to separate your emotions and to be able to understand that there's a time and place for your feelings, but the important aspect is knowing when is the right time to fully express those feelings, that shows the concept of self-mastery. And Bruce Lee, believe it or not, Bruce Lee had to go through a lot growing up. And I'm going to explain why. What most people actually don't know about Bruce Lee is that he's not even a full Chinese or a full Hong Kong Chinese. His mother is actually a Eurasian, or some people will call a Hapa. She was half Chinese and half English, which means that Bruce Lee, believe it or not, he was 1/8 Caucasian. And even though that 1/8 Caucasian may not have made it a difference appearance-wise, it definitely made a difference in how he was raised and how others perceived him as well. They said that Bruce Lee, one point in time when he was a teenager in Hong Kong, he was actually banned from a martial arts dojo or martial arts group because they believed that he was outside the boundaries of a true martial artist, meaning he wasn't a full Chinese descent. So Bruce Lee was already dealing with the aspect of he was an outsider. Whether he wanted to be an outsider or not, just based off of his genetics, based off of his bloodline, he was already shunned from the purity of his Chinese culture. And so I think with Bruce Lee, when he understood that he wasn't going to be accepted from his own kind, and that obviously in America, even though he stood a better chance of life developing himself, he too wasn't going to be fully accepted by other diverse groups. I believe that's when you start to see Bruce Lee become the type of person he was up until his death. And when you listen to his philosophy and how he talks. He talks about how, of course, there's going to be different styles to fighting. Some groups have this form of fighting, this other group has that form of fighting, but he focused less on styles and techniques, and he focused more on full expression of yourself. That's why I love it when he talks about how he would be lying to himself if he didn't allow his true identity to come forth, his true expression to be output for everybody to see. And he didn't care who accepted it or not. He was true to himself. He understood himself better than anybody else. And he followed the beat of his own drum, even if it means that he was an outcast from people of his own kind and people of his own skin. And that's why I think with Bruce Lee, his philosophy relates tremendously with SYSBM. Because in order to become a true practitioner of SYSBM, you have to understand that the path that you're choosing, not every black man is going to be able to do what you do. Not every black man is going to understand your ways of thinking. And especially when it comes down to Black America, they're not going to truly appreciate you being outside of the box. You see, unfortunately, not only in Black America, but you could even see this in white America, everything has to be black and white. If you do this, you're black. If you don't do this, you're white. And vice versa. Not realizing that in between there is a huge gray area. And the world itself revolves around that gray area. So for some brothers who may have come up in life where they enjoy video games, or they enjoy science, they enjoy, the beauty of nature, they enjoy the peace of mind, and they pursue their type of interest that for the average Negro might not be something that they're into. But that what makes them human. When you follow your own interests, and when you understand that your interests may not be the most popular or the most average that the people of your kind would do, but as long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're doing it within the bounds of the laws and legalities, whatever you're doing that's happy and making you fulfilled in life, that's the full expression. And I think what's getting misinterpreted when it comes down to SYSBM is about black men having the ability and the freedom to fully express themselves. See, the thing is, detractors believe that SYSBM is about black men foregoing black women and getting with white women. If you listen to the detractors, this is the message that they really try to hammer home, which doesn't make any sense to begin with. Because within SYSBM itself, there are so many brothers who have so many different interests and aspects in life that you'll have subgroups and subdivisions within SYSBM itself. A lot of times when you go to other content creators, true practitioners of SYSBM, you hear some guys who will say they're Team Snow Bunny. Some guys who will say they're Team Rice Bunny. Some say they're Team Curry Bunny. Myself, I'm more of a team samurai bunny. But, you get the idea that when you have this sort of diversity, but you also have the foundation of these brothers believe in finding happiness within a quality stargate. That's brothers truly expressing their desires. And it expands even further from that. There's so many brothers within SYSBN who are doing amazing things in and of itself. Brothers who travel a lot. Brothers who are involved in clubs and activities. And what I mean by clubs, I'm not talking about going to bars and the nightlife. I'm talking about clubs where you got guys who do boxing, guys who do cycling, guys who go hang gliding, take airplane lessons, blacksmiths, those type of aspects that, for your detractors may seem like you're trying to act white, but really these are interests that have been developed in you since you were probably a little child. And with Bruce Lee, that's what he was really talking about, how his full expressions of things that he has desired since he was a kid. And the more he got involved in the martial arts, the more he was able to fully express who he really was. And so when you're a practitioner of SYSBM, you should be focused on being able to truly express who you are as a black man. First off, express yourself as a man first, then a black man. And by doing so, you understand that you have now fully unleashed your freedom. You're no longer bound to the stereotypes that is painted about you as a black man. You're able to forego your own path and do things your own way. And the people who don't want to be a part of that journey, they just go to the wayside. But the ones who do, not only will they be there side by side with you, but they'll even help you to make that road even wider. And so, the true essence of SYSBM, the true philosophy, is about black men having the freedom of choice. MOT said it best. How can you possibly argue with freedom of choice? If you're going to argue with freedom of choice, you might as well come out and be a communist. Or worse, a totalitarianism. You want to hinder someone else's freedom for the benefit of you. And that is not true democracy. That is not true liberty and freedom. And so, as any brother, even if you're not a practitioner of SYSBM, but you have brothers from other walks of life, MGTOW, the Masculine Mercenaries, IPMOR, these guys all still believe that black men should have the freedom of choice. You should be able to do what you want to do in life without being restricted by not only your skin color, but also your gender. And so, by coming up to Seattle and really feeling the city and really getting the vibe that I was feeling within Seattle, it definitely has awakened my understanding of the true importance of being a practitioner of SYSBM. To be able to go to other places, experience other cultures, and experience other people, and experiencing these new things, but then also finding connections and finding people who follow the same path that you're following. As a black man, that's truly great because it shows that you are a leader. You are a leader of yourself. And when you can lead yourself, you can lead others. And even if you have people who just do not want to be led by you, that's perfectly fine. You let them go their way and you go your way. And you wish your opposition nothing but peace, as you would expect to have peace be sent to you as well. And so that's where the message with SYSBM, it needs to go back to its roots. And I'm glad that Mad Bus Driver, Yokushin, King Sigma, and Babatunde Umana, when they unleashed the tenets of SYSBM, also shout out to Supreme King Kun, because he actually did a pamphlet, of the tenets. The tenets is there just to be a philosophy. And the philosophy behind it is for black men to truly be able to express their freedom of choice. And if you are a person who is against black men having the freedom of choice, then unfortunately you're my enemy. No matter if you're male, female, white, black, from another planet, from another universe, it doesn't matter. Because I want you to have freedom. I also expect you to give me my freedom. And so, for a lot of brothers, this is where we have to remember that the world is very big, but the world is also there for you to make your own path and to make your own legacy. Not every brother is going to want the same thing, and that's fine. But you have to understand what is best for you, what is best for your presence, and what is best for your future. And when you do that, and when you understand that, that's when you will start to learn that you now have self-mastery. And you understand that there are things in life that are your strength and your weaknesses. Things that you'll tolerate and things that you won't tolerate. Things that you're ready to stand on and things that you're ready to walk away from. The beauty about it is you are following your convictions. And if I believe if you was to bring Bruce Lee up back from the grave, he would agree with the same aspect. A man following his true convictions is a man who is truly self-mastered. And he truly understands himself. So, fellas, definitely I will be doing a review on my trip to Seattle and Vancouver. It definitely was a fun trip, a great trip. I look forward to going back to those two cities in the future. And there's definitely going to be more of these type of trips, because I want brothers to understand that when you're traveling to other places, other cultures, other countries, don't be afraid to still express yourself. Be mindful of other cultures, yes indeed. But don't try to be something that you're not. Don't try to don't try to be a stereotype. Be true to your convictions. And definitely be true to who you are as a black man. Because when you do that, you will have others from different cultures who will be more than happy to share their culture with you. And if you're open-minded, you can also become part of their culture. I've seen it many times. Even this recent trip, I have seen brothers who have pretty much become their own type of culture, and the people, the women, and the children who are part of their culture they're all very happy. And they're all very glad for that type of way of life. So once again, fellas, that review video is going to be on my main channel on FS Avenger. The link to that channel is in the description box. So definitely, if you haven't subscribed, feel free to go over and subscribe and tune in. But if anything, just learn to have self-mastery and self-discipline of yourself, whether you are a practitioner of SYSBM or not. And when you do that, that's when you'll be able to have the true freedom of choice as a black man. So with that being said, I'm Sigma Jones. Tune in next time.